That came out in 2012. Okay, so there's that. Speaking of films,
Yeah.
let's just get this part out the way.
Yeah.
We missed a big discussion on OAF, technically 103,
Yes.
or what should have been 103, and that was
Yeah.
the 10-year anniversary of Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight,
Yeah.
which has, I guess, arguably been labeled as the best Batman film ever. I say arguably
Yeah.
because I could still.
And one of the best comic book films for sure ever. Honestly, one of the best.
What was a great
one
fucking
of the
year?
best action movies.
That was a great
period.
fucking year because Dark Knight came out that year.
Yeah.
Iron Man came out that year. Ooh. Tropic Thunder came out that year.
Oh my god, that's right. Man, Robert Downey Jr. came back fucking hard.
Yes, he did.
like he was like, "I'm back, bitches."
Basically,
I'm playing Iron Man and a black dude. Like, wait, what?
And Sherlock Holmes later.
Yeah, exactly. Which that was awesome too. Man, it's so funny because I remember I went back and watched.
Or no, correction. He was a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I went back and watched a kind of a breakdown thing and of the opening scene from Dark Knight, and it's just so good. And I've watched. It's so funny because like since then, even in the like recent, like within the last year and stuff, because over the past like few years, I've gotten really into like researching and listening to a lot of stuff from Hans Zimmer, who scored The Dark Knight, and probably you've seen thousands of his movies that he scored. And then also watching like cinematography breakdowns and stuff, because that was the thing that was so crazy about that movie is, and why it sticks with people so much is because up until that point, and since then, we haven't seen a comic book movie or really many action movies be shot that way with that much care and tension. Mm-hmm. Those are the two words that come to mind when I think about that movie. Care and tension. Because the whole thing with that documentary that I watched of Hans Zimmer.
Yes, I thank you. I was hoping you were going to bring that up.
Which he talks about very specifically. Like it's really excellent because it's really short. It's on YouTube. It's just like a little snippet of a longer thing. Yeah. And he talks about basically going through like talking to instrumentalists and trying to figure out the Joker's
sound.
Yeah. And it was before it wasn't even the sound. It was like, what's the Joker's theme gonna be? Like his like he like da, 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 like a song, like you would normally think about for a character. And he was like just getting stems like hours, like literally. I think he said at one point like 24 to 36 hours worth of stems on a Pro Tools file of like. Guitar
when you say
riffs. Stems. So when you think about stems, just so everybody is aware, a stem is like if you take like one piece of a song. So let's say like if you're listening to a song, there's like a piano part, drums. I mean, drums are broken down into multiple pieces, guitar, vocals. If you take out one of those pieces, just like a segment of that, whether it be like the verse part, the chorus part, whatever, or like a bridge, that's considered a stem, like a one piece of a greater body of music. But usually when you're talking about scoring, obviously you're not going to be playing a full song the entire movie, because then you can't do that, because you've got to have dialogue in there and it's got to weave in and out of action sequences and parts where people are talking, where like if somebody's talking to that character, it slowly starts to build in.
Yeah.
Like usually you have like these stem pieces. So he was trying to find that beginning central idea from all these instrumentalists and stuff that he worked with. Violinists, cellists, guitar players, just sending him the most like, because that was the thing. He met with Nolan, knew what the character was going to be, and then Nolan was like, okay, like this is what the character is. I need his theme, because he's the main, like he's the fucking focus.
Yeah.
And Hans Zimmer always, if you listen to him in an interview, he always talks about like every time he starts a project, he starts from blank. He always specifically says, like, I'm always convinced that I have no idea how I'm gonna do your movie. He says that every time. And obviously every time he goes fucking nuts and comes up with some of the craziest shit you've ever heard. And he was going through that, and he was like, dude, he's like, I've just been listening to just the most dark, depressing shit for hours. He said, and it's gonna drive me insane. And then he finally brought in a guitar player and a string player.
Yeah.
And the string player hit that note and just was dragging it slowly. And he was like, I think I hear it. And he said the way he wanted it to sound like was the bow of a violin or of a string instrument pulling across that note, and it constantly sounding like it's about to break, but it never does.
Yeah. And then he kind of implemented as far as like instead of like, so was it a combination of the violin and the guitar? Because I remember him messing with the guitar.
Yeah.
On when I watched it many years back.
Yeah,
granted,
and they even tried
on the DVD. But.
They even tried the kind of like the combination thing you see a lot of rock bands do sometimes too, where you
like
hit the guitar,
Oh.
you hit the guitar on the ground, and it like the vibrations cause it, but also dragging the bow of violin across the guitar strings. A lot of times will produce some very interesting results too.
Yeah.
And they tried that and got a little bit of what they wanted, but it was like a little bit too deep in tone. They wanted that higher, like that fucking like where it sounds like a fucking mosquito's in your ear. You have to lose your goddamn mind. And then they got it, and then just like were able to pull it out. But then the other thing that a lot of people don't think about too, you have the Joker thing, which is just, that was the beautiful thing. I love, because a lot of people think, obviously in an action movie, the music usually drives emotion. It kind of like when it kicks in. Yeah, exactly. If it's done properly, it kicks in and it subconsciously tells the viewer, oh shit, something's about to happen. Or, hey, nice. I like this guy. This guy's nice. He's great. His music. I hear his music fluttering up. And that's kind of the reaction you're supposed to done if it's done right. But a lot of people, well, not even a lot of people, a few movies and a few DPs and directors of recent years, including Nolan, and then the other one I think of is like just off the top of my head, like No Country for Old Men, where there's a lot of use of silence in order to fill and build tension, because it makes you uneasy, because you're like, what the fuck is like, because we've been programmed to hear and understand and kind of react certain ways, especially like, I mean, from Jason, like from that, like from the Halloween, from I mean, those, when you hear those themes, you know who's coming,
right?
Like you understand that we've been programmed for that over years. So when you either have silence or next to nothing, gives you a very uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
And there was something,
and there's kind of a perfect combination with Jokers, because like it's silence with the exception of that long
that note. You're like
note
you
that's
like
playing,
you,
and it's like it's louder and louder as the dialogue goes along, as shit's progressing in the scene, especially with like you know how I got these scars.
Yeah, exactly.
Any of those monologues that he does.
You're watching a start to finish.
Perfect example of silence was the opening for Inglourious Bastards.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Jesus, man, that was a tense ass,
and
it was just dialogue.
That's another director that is probably one of the greatest to ever do it when it comes to building tension, because his use of the Mexican standoff. I mean, nobody writes dialogue like that. Like, like it's so hard that's so hard. That's probably one of the hardest things about if you're writing for film or for TV, whatever, like dialogue, because the thing is you have to make it sound natural.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, because when you start writing and you have the idea in your head, you're like, oh fuck, and you're like, you start going nuts.
Or sometimes you get a little too clever for your own good. It's like, don't nobody talk like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you know, it's kind of a problem with Whedon.
Yeah, right.
Fuck it, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
Kind of a problem with Whedon is just sometimes like it's almost to the point like every other character is a smartass, and I was like, okay, people will be getting in fights,
right?
If there was this many smartasses in one group,
everybody can't,
or like everybody can't have a one liner, everybody can't be, everybody can't be Han Solo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Some of the other things that it's a lot of, it's funny because like obviously we talk about Heath Ledger, mostly everybody pretty much talking about Heath Ledger being the greatest Joker and one of the greatest villains of all time, but the thing about Dark Knight that made it, there was a lot of stuff with sound design and the way it was shot. Like it's shot so like the way they shot that movie, the way they photographed that movie is very dark and very honestly realistic.
Yeah.
Of what you would get using a lot of natural light.
Right. None of that oversaturation.
Exactly. Like never. But the other thing I noticed too that happened a lot is the Joker's themes up here. And this might get a little inside baseball music wise. But the Joker's theme is a fucking high string note that sounds like it's going to break. Mm-hmm. So it's like a mosquito. So when there was other sound coming in, I always noticed that it was on the lower spectrum. For instance, one of the main ones I think about is the chase scene in the semi-truck. When you first get that flyover Chicago, mm-hmm. and you see them going underground. They're going underground.
Chicago.
Yeah. Gotham.
Whoops. Yeah.
Gotham is fucking Chicago.
Yeah. Well, better than what's the city that's usually done in Canada? Is it
Toronto?
Vancouver?
Toronto's used. Yeah, Toronto's used for New York all the time.
Okay.
They're transporting Dent
mm-hmm.
through the streets. If you haven't seen the fucking movie, it's too late. You've probably seen the fucking
movie. How are you going to sit there and keep listening to a 10-year anniversary?
Right,
talk about
exactly.
It?
By this
point. We're almost 3 weeks late.
Right. You've seen 100 and some episodes of the show. You've probably seen this movie. But like they're transporting Dent and they're going underground and then they go and you got that. The note starts on that wide shot.
Yeah.
And then you see the truck coming down. You start to hear the string pull in. And then you know Joker's on the semi-truck. You don't see him. You see the driver first. So you're like, where the fuck is the Joker? He swings that fucking door open. Yeah. But then the other thing you hear is you hear the wheels and you hear Batman's wheels of the tumbler or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Like it's like that. That's what you hear is that. That's the low. While up at the top, they're like all the sounds are getting out of the way of the Joker's thing, which is interesting because when you're around the Joker, you stay out of the fucking Joker's way because you're going to get fucked up.
Well, that also, the way you brought that up also kind of brings off that duality between Batman and Joker as well. Since like they're both up two sides of a different coin.
Yeah.
No pun intended regarding Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
But as far as, high and low, chaos, order.
Dark and weirdly.
Yeah.
Dark and light.
Yeah.
But Joker's the dark one. Batman's supposed to be the light, but visually, they're the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Batman's dark.
Yeah.
Joker's colorful, high-pitched, loud. Batman's gravelly, dark, low. It's weird. But as far as their morality, it's switched.
Yeah.
But that's one scene I could think of.
Slightly.
Yeah.
One is kind of about, or as we mentioned, one was about chaos, and the other one was about extreme order to the point where sacrificing freedom for safety.
That's true.
Which was a nice little parallel for when the movie was out during, like, as far as like, before, like the Batman series was around kind of like around the Bush organization or administration.
Began,
yeah, or well, near the kind of close to the end because around 2008 was when the election.
Yeah. That was yeah, man. It's just one of those things where you can't it's funny because like you just constantly, I could just see like shots of that movie and I have based like my own shots. Like if I'm just shooting, especially if I'm shooting at night,
mm-hmm.
I have that in the back of my mind, trying to get the saturation out, make it look realistic at night. It doesn't need to pop. This isn't a fucking movie about a club. Like this doesn't need to pop. It needs to look realistic. It needs to have that tone. It needs to come across unintrusive visually.
Yeah.
But everything else can come through as far as the action and the acting and the fucking. I mean, he's shooting a fucking he was shooting a fucking he was doing Joker shit, but in a very like they were just handing him guns. And he was fucking trying to blow up that truck.
Yeah.
Like out of the side of a semi truck.
Yeah, like if this was a cartoon It would be like how Bugs Bunny would reach into his pocket and just pull out any and every gun to sit
absolutely.
there. But since it was realistic, it had to be a person handing him over the guns.
Yeah, right. So. Which would have been even funner if he just was like reaching behind the door and then just pulling out. Like
that reminds me of Tim Burton's Batman, the very first one, which is one of my all-time favorite Batman films, where the Joker, he literally pulled out of his pants a pistol with a long-ass barrel
big long one,
and sit there.
It's like a dirty hairy pistol. Yeah.
And the barrel was practically like broom handle size, and he sit there and he shot Batman down from his from the Batwing.
It's so stupid.
So
that makes it, and then the other part of that specific scene, the other thing that I like, that kind of makes it closer to what I would think about. Definitely, I feel inspirations from the cartoon. Is the guy in the other driver. The guy in the passenger seat, hauling Dent, where he was like, every time like something would happen, because what's the name couldn't talk. Spoiler alert! It's what's the name? Spoiler. Every time he would pull out, he's like, "Is that a bazooka?" And then it was like, it was just funny to like hear super nervous generic cop just belting his lines through the silence.
And the comedic timing, too, because the one that was in the room with Dent was like they were shooting at it, and it was like, they're going to need something a little heavier than that. And then he pulls out a bazooka, and then the driver's like, is that a bazooka? It's like it's funny because like it's a serious movie, but they still find ways to sneak in comedic shit in there. Especially like the part where Batman was threatening, what was his real name? Eric Daniels, I think.
Or the guy that played
the mob boss. It was not Falcone. It was someone else. It was
the I can't think of the family.
Yeah, where he's sitting there going like, it was like, it's like, I know how to threaten people. It's like, take it from a professional. This height wouldn't kill me. He's like, I'm counting on it, and dropped him. And I was like,
it's so funny.
It's just amazing how they sit there and just like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But it can be done to sit there and just throw funny shit in a super serious movie.
Yeah.
Why couldn't that happen on the later?
I don't know.
In the later super serious movies, like
it's because you got Nolan. Nolan's kind of a craftsman of that shit. Like he understands. He gets it.
Yeah.
The bigger picture,
and it didn't stick out either.
No. And then the thing was, they also had goofy over the top. I mean, like the over the top action shit you need for a comic book movie.
I mean,
the bike flip is something I think about.
Characters,
yeah. The bike flip is something I think about. When he drove up the wall and turned around, like that was completely unnecessary, but everybody was like, "Holy shit, that was amazing!" Like that was a great part. When he's blowing up the cars, when he's coming through, like that was a great part.
Yeah.
When the guy like turns around, like he's looking in the rearview mirror and he just sees the cars like, doof, 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 and he just goes like that. Batmobile iteration I love that, just because again it was steeped in reality. The explanation, like they would tie chains to these. They would jump across rivers in order for military convoys to get.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, totally, fuck it.
And the one-time use of detective mode near the end.
That's great.
I marked out on that one too.
That was really good.
Just like and I did the fucking Arsenio Hall shit.
Because this was great. If I remember correctly, we went to go see. We all went together. Yeah, we seen this together. Yeah,
and I almost knocked over my brother's slushie. That's what I get for trying to be cool. And I think I actually ended up giving him some cool points. I tried to. When we walked over to come back, we came back from the concession stand. We were getting ready to sit down, and so what was about to happen is that I accidentally mistimed the rail. I thought it was going to end at certain parts, so you can walk across certain rows. That was not the case. So there was two choices: either walk all the way up to the top, and come back down, or hop over the rail.
Right.
I decided to hop over the rail. And my brother was right behind me with a slush, and I mistimed, or I didn't judge the distance correctly, and I hopped over the rail, and I kicked his cup.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the fuck this happened. Yeah. I kicked this cup. The shit flipped and landed right back in his hand in the exact same spot where he was holding it anyway. And everybody was like, "Oh!" And then it's like, "Oh!" It's like,
that realization that it's gonna be okay when you thought completely disaster was gonna happen. Yeah, it was. Man.
And that'd have been my fault.
No, that's right.
Shit.
Oh man, that movie. I mean, gosh, and then that whole like thing of wrapping it up, and then him being like, "Okay, like I made like this is what this detective mode does. If you use it, I'm not gonna be a part. Like I'm not after this.
It's an invasion of privacy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you can destroy it, and then they destroyed it, got rid of it.
Yeah.
Man, that's yeah, that movie is really fucking good. And yeah,
you know what? 10 years after the fact.
Yeah.
What would you give as far as a rating?
Oh man, this would have to be. I mean, this would have to be, in my personal opinion, without it even existing.
You want to do it at the same time?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Wait, I forgot what it's called. What is it called?
All right, hold up. All right, so here are the ratings.
Oh yeah, okay.
We have trash, we have bronze, we have silver, we have gold, and we have platinum. And I think he just kind of gave it away at this point in time.
Yeah.
All right, so 3,
2,
1, platinum.
Platinum, yeah.
What?
I was going to say the
vibranium.
Yeah, I was going to say vibranium.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Well, I mean, sure, fuck it. Yeah.
Platinum works, yeah. Platinum does work because it makes sense.
Yeah. That's something we can tangibly. Well, not. Yeah, but anyway,
it's so craziness.
Yeah.
It's crazy. If you haven't seen that movie, what are you doing? Like, how are you watching this podcast for the past 100 and whatever episodes it is?
105.
105 episodes.
I mean, not counting the ones that didn't have numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, in 2 weeks I'll be going to Gotham to shoot a wedding.
Oh, okay.
So that should be fun.
Be careful.
Right. I'll try to. I'll try to.
The fictional Gotham.
Yeah, right.
As well as the real life thing that it's based off of.
Right. Yeah, both could be a problem.
Either scenario or either place you're in, be careful.
Right. Oh man.